fellas? Oh, welcome to Air Marshal Mondays. It is another Monday indeed. Oh man, what's this, episode number 68 or something like that? That's crazy. 68 weeks. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. Everybody who's here, everybody who's coming later. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that like button when you come in. That'd be awesome. Sorry about the dogs. So, yes, I have decided to name this Mustang Full Send because we're definitely going to send it. And, I mean, what more appropriate name than Full Send? And what better name to spell, what better way to spell full than F-O-O-L? This will be Full Send. Only a fool would send this thing in the air, and that guy is me. So, everything is ready, man. It's ready to light it up for the first time ever. I've got most of the servos installed. I still haven't done the elevator and rudder servo or the tail wheel, but I've got the flap servos, I've got the aileron servos. Everything in the wing is installed. The motor is installed. It is mounted. It is solid. The thrust angles are correct. And I pray that it actually works. Oh man. So tonight's the night we're all going to see it together. The first time this thing fires up. I have no idea if it's going to work. I will say that I tested the motor to make sure that I had the leads done right, because the way that the front had to go back together, even though I can pull the motor out, the ESC is stuck in there without cutting the foam again. So I had to put all the leads together, and I had to test the direction of the motor just with the servo tester. So I know that the motor works and it's spinning in the right direction, but I have not fired it up yet since the motor and the firewall and everything have been remounted to the plane. This thing is crazy, and it's pretty heavy. Yeah, JCB, you know, I had considered just like molding the flaps in, right? Just gluing them in, taping them flat, whatever. But then I thought to myself, like, I may actually want to land it. And I know with the V900, the V1200 has flaps. The V900 does not have flaps. And you know, bringing that thing around and doing a belly landing, that thing would slide for like a week. It would just keep on rolling. So I have the flaps in there for speed brakes, you know, to slow this bitch down. What is up, Spencer? Kenny, F you. Let's go through a little roll call here. Man, I got just crap all over the bench. Let's just go full out. Let's go full wide angle so you guys can see just like what I've been dealing with. You know, I got crap everywhere because, you know, normally, yeah, this is like my presentation bench or whatever. You know, I use it for filming. I also use it for all of my projects, right? So anytime I'm working on whatever it is, airplanes, trucks, whatever project I'm working on, this is my workbench, right? Where I film at. So, you know, this thing has obviously been an ongoing project for a while, which is why over the last few shows, you guys have seen, you know, the camera has been kind of closed in a little bit. And the reason is that there's just been crap everywhere, man. and there still is just crap everywhere. But I'm to a point now where I can start to really, bring some of that stuff in. Rein it in a little bit, make it look a little bit less crazy. But we're at a point now where we've got ourselves a model. We've got ourselves an airplane that's looking a lot more like a P-51 than it did, a couple of weeks ago. This thing is still not close to ready. I think we're pretty close to a flying model, but it's, I'm still going to do some paint. Oh, son! I mean, if I pulled the prop off, you can see the size of the motor inside this little bit of cowling. It's like, it's huge. But we got, you guys have kind of seen this thing, from start to finish, where now we have the front of the airplane back on. And it's pretty solid. Man. There's a lot of work that's gone into this thing to get it to where it is today. All the control surfaces have been rehinged. You can kind of see that guy just flopping around there. Even the flaps, I've rehinged the flaps. Both of the ailerons. The rudder has been rehinged, where it's nice and floppy now. The elevator's been rehinged. Everything has been redone to make this thing, where it can fly. And I'm not going to be quite as worried about insane stuff happening while it's in flight. Like the elevators failing or the ailerons failing, rudder failing. So I've replaced all the servos with Metal Gear servos. Jeff in Lower Alabama, probably. I haven't found a good spot to put a battery yet where the CG feels right. It's either way too tail heavy or way too nose heavy. So we're going to have to figure something out as far as getting the CG correct. Linden Stewart, I am good. It is good to see you all the way from South America. All right. So, yeah, so far the, getting this thing ready to go has been pretty crazy. Like I said, you guys have I know, Jeff, it's crazy. I got my line of Coke here, so I've got my open Coke and my spare one. I don't want to, especially this stuff, if I drink some Gorilla Glue. I'm pretty sure that this lady is going to win a lawsuit about using this stuff as a hair, treatment. But I don't know if I can get away with drinking it. I don't know how well that's going to go. If Mike Petty's looking for Linden Stewart, that's awesome. So, listen, guys. Last week I want to kind of start the show off on a very positive note. Last week we started the show off with a little bit of a fundraiser for our man Linden Stewart, who lives down in Guyana, South America. Lyndon, I'd like it if you would shoot me an email. You can go to rcairmarshal.com and hit the contact me button, or you can send an email to dave@rcairmarshal.com. If you can get in touch with me and let me know the town you live in, it's going to make things a little easier for us to figure out how much it's going to cost to ship everything down to you. Right, we are still kind of evaluating different shipping options, and also I want to talk to you about perhaps different shipping options that you've used in the past, because I think how to get stuff down to Guyana from the United States better than we do. I'm just guessing, right? So Lyndon, if you can shoot me an email either to dave@rcairmarshal.com or go to my website, which is rcairmarshal.com, and click on the contact button. Either one of those would be fantastic, and let's start a dialogue back and forth where we can figure out how to get everything down to you. Now, what I want to tell everybody is, so far, the outreach of support has been phenomenal for the efforts that we are undertaking to get Lyndon a new airplane and a new radio. What's up, Shane? Yeah, man, my table looks terrible right now, man. I'm working on this Mustang, trying to get this baby finished. So our efforts have been phenomenal, and they have not gone unnoticed. I have reached out to some friends, at a couple of different places, and we're trying to get things maybe a little sweeter. So right now we've got $1,700 that we have been able to collect. $1,700 that we've been able to collect. So I want everybody to give themselves a big round of applause, emojis, or whatever you guys want to do. That is phenomenal. We have collected $1,700. That's just amazing. We're still not quite to our goal yet. I think we're going to need closer to about $2,100. There are absolutely no for sale signs on those planes. So Shadow, that's why I need to talk to Lyndon and find out what company he uses, or what methods they're using to have stuff shipped down there. I obviously have a feeling that Lyndon knows better than we do how to get product from the United States down to Guyana. Everywhere that I have talked to yet, it has been pretty crazy. About $1,000 to get it down there, which is why I want to, get a goal of $2,100. So we're still about $500 short. My plan is to take all of my affiliate dollars that I make for the month of April and contribute them towards the overall pot. So that should get us pretty close to that $2,100 point, if all goes well, right? Unless I just have a sucky month. Yep, so $830 UPS. Now that is assuming a few things, but once I can find out from Lyndon exactly where he is, what methods he uses to get product down to Guyana, then we're gonna get all the logistics side of this thing figured out and get this stuff on the way. The good news is we have more than enough to get the airplane. C Mafia is asking how much it's going to cost with my discount. I can't disclose that, but nice try. No, I do get a discount from Horizon for being part of their affiliate partner program. But I obviously can't tell you guys how much that discount is, because that would be inappropriate. So, we're not going to be paying, the full retail price for the airplane, which is good. So we're going to get a little bit of money off for the airplane. And whatever we can get for shipping, if we can find, it'd be ideal if we could find a FedEx employee or or whatever. Lyndon, that's awesome. Apparently Lyndon has a shipping agent who can hook us up with the information that we need to get everything down there. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's not just shipping, right? There's shipping, there's customs, there's import taxes, if there are any. There's shipping to the port and shipping to his door. So unless Lyndon is willing to go to wherever it comes in and pick it up directly at the port, the port of entry, I'm not sure exactly what town Lyndon lives in. I'm not sure if he's in Georgetown or if he's close to Georgetown or whatever. It all depends. So, we'll figure all that out. We'll figure that out and figure out how the best way is to get it down there. I'm going to let Lyndon tell us. But here's the thing. If anybody still wants to contribute, I think that we still have money that we need to bring in to make this happen. You can contribute by going to my PayPal, which is, let me see if I got a keyboard. All right. So you can make a contribution via my PayPal link, which is I'm going to put that link down here in the chat. Yeah, Shadow, listen, all of these different methods are on the table. Nothing is off the table yet. Kind of the first thing I want to do is talk to whoever it is that Lyndon uses right now. If he has a shipping agent, his shipping agent may be able to point us in the best direction. We've already kind of looked at DHL, UPS, FedEx, all the retail numbers on those, and I believe that one of them is through a business account, are looking at, between $850 to $1,000. So let's see how that works out. Lyndon, that's awesome. That was my assumption. I believe I heard you say something like that on one of our Zoom sessions, that you lived in Georgetown. So that's cool. That's what my assumptions have been while we've been trying to, calculate what the shipping was going to be. Mike SSI and Kenny, you guys are awesome. We just got a couple of donations in from Mike SSI and Kenny. Keith Christie, while I don't want to, get into it because I don't know exactly what Horizon's going to be able to do. There have been folks that I've talked to at Horizon that have expressed an interest in what we're doing, but there hasn't been anything. There hasn't been anything yet as far as exactly what they're going to be able to, to do for us. There's been some things that I've asked for to kind of sweeten the pot up a little bit, because I think that our efforts are noble, and I think that what we're trying to do here is really cool. So yeah, I mean, whatever they're able to do to help us out is obviously going to be very welcome. And we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what they can do. Direct shipping. So they don't do international shipping anymore, Keith. They used to, but they do not anymore. So now you have to use what is called a ship forwarder. And that's probably what Lyndon's talking about. He may have a shipping forwarder that he uses, and that's what he's saying, that he's going to get me in touch with his agent, and he'll make it very easy for us to ship it down there. Whether easy means cost effective or not is a different part of the equation, but I think that Lyndon's going to be able to point us in the right direction. So let's go that direction first before we start talking about like shipping straight with FedEx or whatever. I think a shipping forwarder is the way to go. It sounds like Lyndon already has a preferred shipping forwarder that he uses, and that's what we're going to do. Shadow, this is British Guiana, if I am not mistaken. French Guiana is a couple of countries to the east, I believe, maybe to the south. But yeah, Guyana is not French Guiana. They're two different countries. All right. So let's get back to the crazy Mustang. As you guys know, we have come up with a name for the crazy Mustang. This crazy Mustang is going to be named Full Send, F-O-O-L. Full Send, which I think is a very fitting name. We've got the radio bound up to the receiver. I think it's going to maybe work. So we're going to fire this thing up for the first time ever right now. I've got it bound up to the TX16S. We're going to be using an FR Sky X8R receiver. I know that I had talked about using an AR636, but I love AR636s and I would hate to lose it in a fiery crash. I just have a feeling that this plane, you guys know what I'm saying. I have to be willing to lose everything in this airplane, including the receiver. And I really would prefer to not throw an AR636 away. I've already thrown one away in the Florida, in the waters of Florida. So, Che, you actually know where this receiver came from. I think you sent it to me. This is an FR Sky X8R receiver that Che sent to me. I don't know if he just didn't have a radio to make it work with or what the case was, but for whatever reason he didn't want it. He was generous enough to send it my way. And, little did he know at the time that he was going to be contributing to the delinquency of a crazy man by sending that thing down here. Woo! So yeah, I think Tug Hill crashed his P-51 during testing. I'm not sure what Tug Hill did with his. Tug Hill, what all did you have in yours? Did you put a V900 motor in it? Shadow, free to me is still cheap. All right. Who's ready for some fireworks?
Welcome to the Radio Master TX16S.
Yes.
Switch warning.
Uh-oh.
Gyro disabled. Throttle cut on. All clear. High rates.
Woo! Okay, so the V900 works, but the tail broke off during flight. The tail. So Tug Hill, tell me about it. Which part of the tail? Because I assume we're talking about the same model. So where did it break? Did you have the tail like screwed in and it just came off? Or did the back end like pop? I mean, what broke on the tail? Well, Bill, we'll get to that in just a second. I want to fire this thing up. I am just mega excited with anticipation, waiting to see what this thing is going to do. Oh man, there we go. Big EC5 from the 130 amp Freewing ESC that's in this bitch. So for you guys For you guys that don't know, this thing is outfitted with a 5065 800 kV motor from an E-Flight V1200. The ESC is a 130 amp ESC from a Freewing F-18, from that Freewing F-18. This one's not going to be flying ever again, so because it's just a static model now, I pulled all the electronics out. And it's a good thing I did, because now I have an ESC that I can throw into this Mustang. All the servos came from an E-Flight Havoc that I crashed. You know, all of the wings, the horizontal stabs, the rudder, the vertical stab have all been mega reinforced, carbon reinforced. There's carbon rods in the verticals, the horizontals. You've got your main carbon spar and then additional carbon spars that go all the way out to the wing tips inside the main wings. The bottoms of the wings and the bottoms of the horizontal stabs have been reinforced with dual reinforced strapping tape. I mean, this thing, the wings shouldn't bend. I really don't think that the tail is going to fly off. Joe Habib, I don't have a lot of problems with HRB batteries. You know, I'm pretty well versed in how to take care of batteries, and as long as you take care of your batteries from the moment you buy them until the moment they die forever, you're going to get a long service life out of most any battery. You know, some are going to perform a little better than others, but, you know, at least in my opinion, the HRB batteries have been good. So I haven't had a problem with them. So enough with the anticipation. We're going to fire this baby up. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Ho, ho, ho. So my aileron servos are working. I had the radio program already moved over from another airplane. Sweet, even my LEDs are working, so that's exciting. I've got the wingtip LEDs are working. So we've got the red on the left and the green on the right. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, why not have some LEDs on the wings? All right, guys.
Throttle cut off.
Throttle cut is off. All the testing up to this point has proven that it should work. I've done some stress tests on the motor mounts, you know, yanking and pulling and trying to pry it and move it and all that stuff. As you guys may be able to see, you know, the thrust angles are all matched up. I mean, you probably can't see that, but the motor is pretty dang centered up, and thrust angles match with the original. So I'm going to hold on to this baby, and we're going to light the fire. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, shit! Woo! Yeah, that thing blows into the air. It works. I don't want to. I don't want to get too crazy with it. Wild Bill, not here on the test stand. Maybe if we were outside, because I'll go up to like half throttle. Oh my God. This. Oh man. Yes.
Battery lost.
So yes, Che, there's part of it that's laughing because it actually works. The other part is laughing because of the unbelievably large amount of thrust. This thing was pulling like a mofo at half throttle. I mean, it was trying to run into the TV. It was trying to come invade the freaking camera. Wow. This thing has some serious power. Serious power. Woo! This thing has some serious power. Jeff in Lower Alabama, it absolutely has enough room for the it absolutely has enough room for the prop. The wheels, let me see if I can actually get it on the table. I'm not sure. I mean, I still need the plane stand for a couple of different things that we're doing, but I don't need it really for what we're doing right now, which is just kind of talking about the plane. Man, I got like tools and crap everywhere. So Jeff in Lower Alabama was asking, do we have enough room for the prop? Are the wheels tall enough? And the reason that I am pretty confident that we do is because the prop on the stock model is a 10, I believe a 10.75 or 10 by 7.54 blade. I'm sorry, it's a 10.5 by 8 four-bladed prop. So this is 10.5 inches in diameter. This one is only a 10.10. So the prop that's on there is actually a little bit smaller than the stock prop. So by that rationale, I should have plenty of room, right? I mean, right now it's sitting on the table and I've got way more than enough room. I can actually have that much down incident, you know, so just like if I'm just flying on the mains, you know, like I'm sitting on the mains, I've still got about 3 inches of clearance, and I can have that much down. This is where a prop strike would happen. So this is prop strike territory. This is about level flight, even though it doesn't look like it in the camera. This is about where level flight would be. So this is where it would be flying on the mains with the tail up and just kind of controlling it with the rudder. You know, with the tail up, I've got way more than enough ground clearance. So we are good in the ground clearance area. Woo! So Keith Christie, I'm not sure, Lyndon. I'm not sure. I'm not the B-26 is only a 1,500 millimeter wingspan. So for it to have, and this is 1,200. So for it to have 2 of these, you know, 10-inch props would be pretty dang big. But it might. I mean, I don't think so, though. I don't think so. We'd have to see if somebody with one of the B-26s, all of the Dynam twins that I've got, use the same size prop, and I want to say they're like a 7-inch prop. But yeah, I'm not sure if this is the same size that's on the B26 or not. It seems pretty big for a B26, but like I said, I could be wrong. Keith Christie, no. I think the ailerons that I have on there are going to be too big for the speed that it's going to be carrying through the air. Yeah, see, Mafia, that's a good idea, man. I think if we let Kenny stand on it for about a week and a half, it should be all set. Yeah, so, I mean, this thing is a beast at half throttle. That was only half throttle, you guys, that little run-up that we did. No, I'm not doing full throttle right now. Now, somebody had asked earlier, I think it may have been Wild Bill, had asked earlier, how did I end up securing the motor into the cowling? So let me explain my methods, because I, did a little bit of geeky engineering work to figure it all out and figure out exactly where I needed to be to get the amount of space I wanted between the end of the cowling and the spinner, because I didn't want the spinner to be too close, just in case there was a little bit of wobble. I didn't want it rubbing against the foam, so I think I gave myself about an 1/8 inch clearing between the cowling and the back of the spinner, plate. So what I did though was I measured how far it was from the spinner to the back of the cross brace with a depth gauge, with a caliper. So, for those that are familiar with how to use, like digital calipers, what I did, is you can open up the caliper, and if you look at the back of these calipers, so I'll zoom in here a little bit, and we're going to talk about tools again, fellas. Yay! So when you open up a set of calipers, right, you'll see that, obviously your jaws open up. So you can measure, the outside of something, with these jaws. You can measure the inside of something with these 2 points. And you can use it as a ruler if you wanted to. That's silly. I don't do that. But you can also use it as a plunge gauge, a depth gauge. So if you watch as you extend the jaws of the caliper, you'll see that little piece come down from the end. Right? So what I did was I used that, that little plunge area of the caliper to measure the distance from the X bracket to the back of the spinner. And then I used this to measure exactly how far I needed to mount the motor mounts inside the cowling, and how much foam I needed to hog out, and basically went around the diameter of the cowling with a long extension drill bit that I had put a piece of painter's tape on, like a flag. So this flag was spinning around. So if it went down inside the cowling, I would hear it. It would be like a rrr. And I basically went around there where I could see that flag and just went around the cowling and just started hogging the foam out until I got everything where I needed to be, where that spot where the X bracket was going to go was flat, and I could fit the motor in there without it being bolted down. At that point, I took a 3 inch a 3/8 inch dowel rod, so just under 10 millimeters, I believe. So I took a piece of dowel rod and, you know, I took a 3/8 inch drill bit and drilled into the 4 spots where the X bracket would bolt into, and, you know, drove the 3/8 inch dowel rod into those holes as far back as I could get them. And then I secured those in place. I cut them off at the length that they needed to be sitting right at that point that I measured with the caliper, that plunge point. I put them in there and secured them in place with Gorilla Glue. So, you know, the same trick of Gorilla Glue and water. Mixed up some of that mixture, you know, coated the dowel rod, slid it in there, and made sure that there was enough Gorilla Glue like inside, so it like, you know, expanded like crazy all through there. So those dowel rods are now like one with the foam. They're never coming out. And then I took an 1/8 inch drill bit and used, I have an extra X bracket. I used that X bracket as a guide, you know, like a jig, to drill 1/8 inch holes into the center of the dowel rods. And I'm using some pretty fabulous, I believe they're 1 1/4 inch wood screws into the dowel rods that have bit hard into the dowel rods. Like, they are not coming loose, and that motor is in there good. I mean, you just saw it. It was pulling the plane fine at half throttle, the static pull, and it was fine. The motor didn't fly out. So if it can do that at a static pull, that's far more strain than is ever going to be on the plane with the whole model moving through the air. So I'm really comfortable with the motor mounting method. I don't think that we're going to have any problems. You know, if anything, it's a tiny bit off center. So there you go. Raven Rock is also giving us more ways to use calipers. I know there's like 4 or 5 different ways to use a caliper to measure stuff. He's saying you can use the front of the caliper to do the same thing. And I think that may have been what I was doing, but maybe not. I'm not sure. I'd have to go watch like some silly videos again on how to use a caliper. But there's like 4 or 5 different methods of you know, doing measurements with a caliper. They're very useful tools. They do a lot more than you think. What's up, Captain Photon? So, what's up, Ray? Good luck at the post office. So, yeah, man, this thing, you know, I did a little bit of crazy engineering of getting the motor mounts to work right. I ended up not using like any plywood in there. It's just dowel rods that are sunk deep into the foam with Gorilla Glue holding them in. And then I used carbon fiber rods. I think there's 6 carbon fiber rods that I used kind of as guide pins to glue the nose back on. And then the nose is glued back onto the airframe with Gorilla Glue. And I mean, any of you guys that have used like the white Gorilla Glue on foam, I mean, you know how that stuff is, right? That stuff is ridiculously sticky. And once it sets up, like the bond that white Gorilla Glue makes between 2 pieces of foam is unbreakable. You won't break that bond. You will break the foam around it. So I am
playing from damned O2.
You know, Michael Baird, that's probably not a bad idea, to be honest with you. The only thing I'd be slightly concerned with there is the amount of drag that's going to get created inside the cowling. You know, this is certainly one of those planes that, you know, I considered like shaving off the sides, you know, because I've got the little exhaust pipe still, and I had taken those off because I didn't know if I was going to put them on there or kind of fill that in. But I mean, with the amount of speed that this plane is going to be making, and the amount of just raw power and torque that the motor's going to have at its instant fingertips, I just don't know that like having these off the plane is really going to make a rat's ass of difference, right? So I think I'm just going to glue them back on, paint them, you know, match the color scheme with the color scheme that we're going to be going with for the rest of the airplane, and just leave them on there, right? Leave all the little scale bits and stuff on the plane. I'm leaving the little gun, you know, the little guns on the front of the wings. Those are molded into the foam. I'm just leaving them. I don't even care. Now the wings and so all your control surfaces, right? So my horizontal stabs, my wings, and my vertical stab, the entire control surface is skinned with packing tape. And that was to add, you know, some strength, some rigidity, and, you know, once I do my primer coat over it, it creates a little bit less work for me without adding a ton of weight. Could I have done... I probably could have used the foam filler and sanded for days, you know, like Kenny's doing. I've elected not to go that route. I just put a light skin over the entire wing surface. On the bottom, it's that reinforced, you know, crisscrossed fiber weave on the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's like woven fiberglass, you know, on the bottom of the vertical or the horizontal stab and the wings. So the entire wing is coated with that you know, crisscrossed or woven fiberglass, and the entire horizontal stab is also coated with that same you know, crisscross fiber. So I think it's going to work, but we'll see. Hey, thanks, Mafia. See, Mike SSI, that's really what I'm thinking, man. I think that I think that with as much tape and crap that I have on the plane, even if I wreck it, like, I don't plan for it to just explode. Like, it will break. No doubt in my mind it will break. But I think that I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to fly. I need to get the CG right. I need to do a lot of testing to figure out exactly where the CG is going to need to be. Because it's obviously a heavy airplane. There's absolutely no denying that it is a heavy airplane. In fact, I mean, pretty much everything is in there except a couple of servos. So I'm kind of curious to see just how heavy this beast is. We're definitely going to need to do something about that weak ass magnet at the back. We're going to need something much stronger to hold the canopy on. And I think I'm going to have to mangle the, let's see, what can I get on here that this plane will sit on? Maybe this roll of paper towels. Maybe I can sit it on that to get a good weight. That'll work. So I'm going to turn on the scale, put the roll of paper towels on, tear it, so I've got the plane on there, and my flight pack is this HRB battery. All right, guys. So this is pretty interesting. So this, let me go ahead and throw a couple of servos on there too. We're going to be adding 3 more servos. So we'll go ahead and throw those into the mix. All right, guys, who wants to take a guess at how much this plane weighs? Because right now, I mean, all of the weight of the plane is sitting on like this paper towel roll. The paper towel roll was teared, you know, so right now we're seeing the exact weight of the plane. All right, 7.2, 14.3. 6.7, 6.9, you are all wrong. All right. The V1200, for comparison, which is the power plant that this airplane has in it. If somebody wants to look up the weight of the V1200, all up weight with the battery installed, it is right at about 6.5 pounds. This may be or may not be heavier. It could be heavier, it could be lighter. I can see what the weight is right now. And it is exact. It is exact. This plane weighs 4 pounds, 8 ounces. It is exactly 4.5 pounds with the battery on the scale. So I'm going to change the units over to grams. This is 2,042 grams. Captain Photon would be 4.5. 4 pounds, 8 ounces is 4.5. 2,041 grams. I lost a gram somewhere. That is pretty impressive. I thought it was going to be heavier than that. I thought that I had measured out all the parts and pieces, and maybe I had some extra stuff in there that I had thrown on the scale with it. That's pretty freaking incredible. I thought it was heavier. I mean, it just feels like a heavy airplane. 2,041 grams. That's amazing. That's amazing, considering that this is, and that's with the receiver, all of the electronics are in it. I've got the extra servos that I'm going to be putting in the plane are sitting here. You know, if anything, I may add, you know, maybe another 20 grams. I mean, I can't imagine adding that much weight in paint. I am going to put like a white primer over it and a silver coat on top of the white primer, but we're not talking like a half a pound. Yes, the scale is calibrated. But, you know, just going off the fact that the V1200 scoots along at about 140 miles an hour on a 10.8 prop with this same power system, and it weighs about 2 pounds more. 2 pounds more than this airplane does. You know, and this guy weighs in 4.5 pounds with the same motor and a 1010 prop. So the V900 uses a 10.8 prop. This is a more aggressive propeller that I feel like this airplane is going to be drag limited. Which means that the motor is probably going to tear the airplane apart. And that's what we all want to see, right? Like, we want to see the plane just getting ripped to shreds. That's impressive. I mean, it felt heavier. It feels heavier to me, you know, than 4.5 pounds. But I mean, the scale doesn't lie, right? I mean, I guess it could be lying, but I don't think so. It's never lied to me before. 4.5 pounds, dude. Keith Christie, that's another good idea. Pilot Jerry, that's what we're using. We're using some Rust-Oleum 2X paint and primer. I may leave the canopy off. But I think for me to get the battery to fit in there, I'm going to need to shave off this big old block of foam right here, which is going to create a big hole right here. So, I mean, I guess I could just tape over that or do some kind of crazy former to go over this, you know, and just have like a very minimalistic, you know, something on there. But I mean, is this and this really going to create that big of an aerodynamic difference? I mean, yeah, I guess it would. I know most of the racer Mustangs are like B models, and even the B model Mustangs that they've turned into the racers have had the canopy like clipped down like at least half. You know, so they're real squatty, and the guy that's in there, you know, running the plane might have like this much of a window to see out of. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I may leave it on. I may take it off. Put the canopy on backwards for aerodynamics. That just looks stupid. I don't know, man. We'll figure it out. If I just delete the canopy, we got to figure out a way to fare all that in. You know, and make that more of a solid piece instead of having like holes and stuff in it. I think we can figure it out, though. It might be better to just leave it off. I am Captain Photon. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if leaving it on gives me the best aerodynamics or going ahead and deleting it gives me the best aerodynamics. I'm not an airplane designer. I would assume that taking it off would offer a little less drag, but it doesn't seem like it would offer much. I think that even with it on, the airflow over that canopy would still be smooth enough that I would probably not notice it. It wouldn't be like a noticeable difference. But to be perfectly honest, I mean, it's nothing but aesthetics. There's no reason for the canopy to be there because it's not protecting a pilot, right? So we could take it off. But I don't know that it offers any, is there an advantage to taking the canopy off rather than leaving it on? That's the real question. So we're definitely not going to clip the wings. The wings are staying just the way they are. I mean, we could try something like that. Try to make some formers in there and just make that smooth the whole way from the front to the back. Just have a smooth transition and no canopy at all. It'd be kind of funky looking. See, Micah, that's what I'm thinking. Whether it's on or off, at the end of the day, is not going to make more than a second a difference. So here's the thing that I realize. It doesn't matter how fast this plane is. So back in the day, I used to race two-wheel drive, stock and modified buggies. 1/10 scale buggies. I raced, team associated RC10s fairly competitively all around the Atlanta area. And I did well. And what I realized back then was it didn't matter how fast your car was, it mattered how well you can drive it. If you can't drive into a turn and keep the tires on the track, it didn't matter how fast your car was. It didn't matter how fast, your car was if you're spinning out or flipping the car over every time you enter a turn. So I kind of feel the same way here, that the straight line speed only gets me so much. If I'm cutting it, to make that turn and then hitting it again on the way out the other side, my piloting skills are going to have a lot more to do with my chances of winning the race than the speed of the airplane. But having speed in the airplane certainly can't hurt. And I think that there's a couple of different philosophies on how you fly this thing in a pylon race. I don't think that there's any kind of, other than like AMA rules, right? AMA rules say that we're not supposed to fly over 400 feet, but outside of that, I don't think that there's any rules that say that once you get past the pylon, you can't do a wing over and bring the plane back down, kind of do like a saddle type of thing, where you can build up like insano speed coming around the pylons and then just, go vertical, do a wing over and bring it back down. If that's the case, like depending on how the plane flies best, what's the easiest way for me to turn it around without, and get it going back down the other side of the pylons the fastest. And is it to carry, all of the speed past the pylon into a vertical climb and then wing it over and come back down and carry all that momentum and speed into the straights? Or do I depend on the torque of the motor to be able to get the airplane up to speed so damn fast that I, race it kind of like NASCAR at a short track? Because we don't have a lot of time to work with. Or do I run it like NASCAR at like Talladega, where I run, the pylons really wide and carry all that speed, and just make my turns much wider? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that I could, that you can run the race. So I really got to see how the plane handles, if it handles at all. I mean, this thing may go in within 20 seconds of taking it off. And if that happens, I'll be really sad because it did take me some time to do all of this work. But it'll still be awfully fun no matter what. So, well, George Watts, I don't know that we're going like official pylon racing, with judges and all that crap, right? Because I think, to tell you the truth, this whole thing is nothing but an exhibition. Keith Christie, I've been practicing exactly 0 of those styles of flight. I have not been practicing at all because between work and getting the plane ready, I've been spending all of my time like either working at my real job or getting this plane ready. Which has sucked because there's been a couple of good weather days in there where I could have been flying, but instead I'm working on this stupid thing. So I'm glad that the airframe is pretty much complete. Really, the only thing I have to do now as far as the airframe goes is I need to get the elevator and rudder, need to get those servos mounted, and I need to get the control rods cut. So all of the ball links are installed, but the control rods are not cut yet. So once I get all the servos mounted and the ball links installed, then I can see what length I need to cut the control rods and thread them into the ball links. And then we'll get, I've also got like carbon fiber sheath that I'm going to put over the control rods to prevent them from bending. Not that they're going to be long enough to bend, but I don't want any slop in the control surfaces at all. I want the inputs to be true and fast. So I do have these, all threaded rods, 256 all thread rods, and I've got a piece of carbon fiber or tube that these will slide into, so whatever the distance is between the two ball links, I'm going to cut a piece of carbon rod that length, undo the ball link, screw it back down with that carbon rod in there, that carbon tube in place. You just screw it until it's tight, snap it back on, and now I'll have a much stiffer control rod that will not bend. So all of my theories would suggest that it's going to be a great handling airplane. In practice, it's probably going to be the biggest turd at the airfield, and it is going to break up the first time I run it into high speed.
Plane from damned O2.
See you, Shadow. Right, so that's a good idea. I'm going to take it out and do a taxi test and just drive it around and be like, yeah, man, look at my crazy airplane. You know, full send, baby. And then the first time I fly it, it's just going to break into a million pieces and I'll never, ever want to watch that video. But there'll be a lot of other people that do. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about it. I think at 4.5 pounds, I think that all of the numbers work out. I don't think it's too heavy to fly. I think that once we can get the CG figured out, that's going to be, you know, kind of critical, obviously, to any airplane that flies. But I think that, you know, once we get that CG figured out, and we get everything kind of buttoned up, it's got a good chance of flying great. It's got a good chance of flying, you know, as good as any Mustang I've flown before. Now to be fair, I don't know how many people have like the Dynam P-51. Mike SSI, I could just take all the wings off and put just little, you know, little slats on it and just fly it like a missile. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm hesitant. Spencer, hey, thanks, man. I'll be ready with the trash bags, or, you know, I mean, I've got a bunch of contractor bags I'm bringing down with me. At least one for every airplane I bring. So, I think I've done enough reinforcement in the wings that this airplane will be able to take much more than 120 miles an hour. What's up, Mike Bird? Yeah, I mean, George, that's true. Look, I'm not really worried about like nosing it over on landing or anything like that. And even if I did, I mean, I've got like 5 props for it. So even if I, you know, crack a prop on landing, I'm not worried. I've got another one I can throw on there. I've got one prop for every race, right? So if we go into heat racing mode, I got enough props, you know, kind of like spare tires. I got enough props to be able to replace them. I think I've got 4 more here. Yeah, so I've got 4 more props in the pile. So if I break them, it's not a big deal. Right, so there'll definitely be a moment of silence after the race. So, Tug Hill, I don't know if you answered this earlier, and if you did, I apologize for asking again. On yours, you know, where did you experience, like, structural failure? So, Matt M., that's why I got 5 props, man. I don't expect to fly this thing more than 5 times before a winner is decided. So did you have structural failure where like the vertical stabilizer or the horizontal stabs like ripped off the plane? Or did you experience structural failure like in this area where this part like physically broke off of the airplane because there was too much, you know, pressure on it or something. Where did you break it? I know you're probably pointing at it on the screen like, I broke it there, man. I broke it there. And I can't see where the tail of your airplane broke off. But what I'm kind of curious about is, you know, since you had the same airframe and the rest of this bitch, where the rear landing gear inserts into the fuse. So like right here, where this little thing is, like right there. Interesting. Did it just break off from the stress in the turn? Because I may... You know, now that you've done that, and you know what your airplane can and can't do, I mean, I've got another, this part was pretty successful, cutting it off and reinforcing it and putting it back on. I mean, there's another panel line, like right here, that I can take the knife and just cut it, and that would actually make it a lot easier, so I can have an independent servo for the tail wheel that's back here, and that would give me a lot more room up here, or a lot more freedom to move that battery. Because just based on some testing this morning, I think this battery is going to need to sit about here for this thing to balance out. This is too far forward. I think it's going to need to sit, behind the CG to get the weight right. And to get because one of the things that I want is I want the CG to be just aft of where the wheels sit when the plane is in level flight. So when it lands, it rocks backwards instead of rolling forward. So, not quite halfway, but, just past the back of where the servo comes in. That's kind of where I want the CG, about 30% back from the leading edge of the wing. Do I know what the CG is supposed to be? No. And, look, I'll be one of the worst guys in the world. I never told you this, but I never ever use the CG anymore of the book. And that sounds whacked out and terrible, right? Like, what? You don't use the CG from the book? I'm not like an aerospace engineer, but I've learned enough over the years that I've been doing this that certain types of airframes like the CG in certain locations, right? So, this type of airplane with a main landing gear, like a tail dragger with a main landing gear, likes the CG to be just, if it's right on the landing gear, it's going to tip over, right? And that's no good. If it's just after the landing gear, it'll squat back. So that's good, right? So it kind of has to be just aft. If you put it too much further back, the thing's just going to whoosh. So I like my CG to be just aft of that pivot point where when it sits on the ground, it will come down and it will land, and the tail will squat down, right? And if the book and my guesstimations happen to coincide with each other, that's cool. Happy coincidence day, right? But that's what I go by. If the book tells me to CG it somewhere that doesn't make sense, I'm not going to do it. Which someday my luck will run out, I'm sure. And if it's an airframe style that I'm not really familiar with, I'll go by the book. But if it's an airplane style that I am familiar with, I'm going to go by my gut. And my gut's usually pretty good. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, that's what I'm going to go by here. I'm going to go about 33% back from the leading edge. And as Ryan calls it, the fat of the wing. And I think it's the... what is it? The fattest part of the tallest part of the airfoil. So if you got like a flat bottom airfoil and the top of this is very exaggerated, right? But if the top of the airfoil comes up and then starts to slope down, at that fattest part of the airfoil, that's typically where I want my CG to be. Give or take, right? There's something going on with aerodynamic forces there and Bernoulli effect and all of that stuff, that if the CG happens to be right there, the plane flies pretty great. Yes, camber. So, I think about 1/3 back on this wing is going to get us in the ballpark of where we want to be. And, if I cut the tail off where Tughill was saying his broke, right? So right there, the same way we did with the front, we just cut that nose right off the plane, split that down the middle so we could hog all that out and get that motor mount in there. And now that motor mount is solid. I feel very comfortable holding this thing from the spinner. I'm pretty sure that motor is not going to come out. This part of the fuse, I'm pretty sure is fine. If what Tughill is saying was his broke right in this area, where the tail wheel assembly, is molded into the fuse, which is right around here. So if I come in just forward of that and I cut the airplane right there, like all the way down, and remove that section of the airplane, number one, that makes it easier for me to install the servos, and that's great. And it also gives me an opportunity to do the same way I did up front. So all along the sides of this, there are carbon fiber rods, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon fiber rods holding this front piece together like an internal skeleton. So that's not going to twist or torque over. I have the opportunity now, to go ahead and cut that off and reinforce that with that same, carbon fiber material. Maybe do, between 4 and 6 carbon fiber rods right there to stiffen that up and reinforce that area. And, get that all pieced back together where I would feel pretty comfortable about that part of the fuselage not breaking off in flight. God, and spas. That's right. So John Graham, some portion of why I'm building this plane to be so tough is because I want this to be the one that hits other people. So my goal is to take Kenny out immediately because I know he can fly it better than I can. So if I take out Kenny, if I can take out Kenny, and I can take out Bobby Committa, and I can take out Matt, listen, if I can just take out everybody else, I win. I win by attrition. There's no rules. Nope, no wing clipping. I am not going to be doing any wing clipping. I'm leaving the wings full length. So, listen, I've seen what Bobby's bringing, and even though Bobby's plane looks cool and looks like Bobby's plane looks cool, I think that this plane is going to whoop its ass. I think just raw speed of the Dynam airplanes, I don't know that there's going to be other planes out there of the Dynam class airplanes that are going to match the speed that this one brings. Matt might bring some competition with the EDF motor that he's got in his Sea Fury. But I think just from a raw dog horsepower and speed perspective, this will probably be the fastest Dynam plane in the world for, not just in Florida, this will be the fastest Dynam plane in the world until it explodes. So I don't know that. I mean, Tug Hill. I mean, obviously we can't shoot him with real guns. Sorry, Mickey. John Graham, the vertical stab has one carbon rod in it that runs up and down through the entire length, you know, that goes from the bottom to the top, like from here all the way up to the tip. There's a carbon rod in there that makes it where it can't like flex this way. And in the bottom, instead of a carbon rod, so you see I've kind of got like a bow in it. I don't know if you can see that. Well, let me use my camera trickery. All right. See how there's a little bit of a bow underneath the, and then you can also kind of see that fiber reinforced, strapping there too. So it's like a double weave, fiber reinforced strapping. There's a carbon, that is a carbon, not a rod, a carbon strip. So that strip is about an 1/8 inch thick. and about maybe a little thinner than an 1/8 inch, but it's about it's probably a little bit thicker than a 1/4 inch wide, so I sunk that in there where it was flush with the bottom and gave it a little bit of a bow to go all the way across. So now in like this direction, that bitch doesn't flex at all. So I mean, I'm perfectly comfortable with how well that's put together. and I think it's going to be able to take quite a bit of punishment. The wings are the same, so if you can see it, you can. If you can't, that's fine too. You're not going to be able to see where I put the carbon spars, but you can see, kind of that double fiber reinforced stripping. So right there so the main spar on these wings runs from here all the way to the other side of the retract. So it runs from here to here. All right, right here along the front side of the wing, so from the edge of the retract all the way out to the tip, right on that line, I've got another, thicker piece of carbon strip that is embedded in the wing there, that's epoxied into the wing. So, at this point, you really have to crank that wing to get it to bend even a tiny bit. You'd be hard pressed to break it. And I think that even if we go, extreme speeds, I'm not so worried about the control surfaces, breaking, especially the wings and the stabilizers. They flex, and you want there to be some flex, but they don't they're not floppy. Dyna wings are historically just some floppy bitches. So there's flex, which is fine. I'm fine with there being some flex in there, but there's no slop, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, we just kind of have to wait and see what happens, right? Nice. Yes, I like my mug. That's a good idea, right, son? I'm gonna maybe bring the box with me, so I've got a something that I can send to Dana. In fact, I've got all the boxes for every plane. I should just pack them all up in a truck and just have them driven out to Colorado. There's no planes in them, and they're pretty light. So I think I could just mail them all out to Colorado. I got an attic full of airplane boxes. Nope. Michael Bear, we're leaving the flaps because in the very slim chance that this bitch makes it through an entire flight, I want to be able to land it, and I want to be able to bleed the speed off. So I'm leaving the flaps on the plane. Now, my justification for that is because of the way that I'm doing the control rods and the servos. I've swapped out the servos with Metal Gear servos. I've tested them all. None of those servos have any chatter. They are all solid, right? They don't have any problems. And they're a little bit bigger. I think they're 17-gram servos instead of 9-gram. So I'm not too worried about the servos failing. I'm not worried about the servos chattering. and they stay put. And because I'm using, ball links, there's not going to be any slop. There's not going to be any play in the control surface. I mean, we're talking, like a 32nd of an inch of play, maybe. So I'm going to leave the flaps on. And if I have the opportunity to land the plane, I'll be able to bring the flaps down and bleed that speed off. Because it's going to be carrying so much weight, I don't think that this is going to be a very floaty airplane. That's just my, somewhat intelligent thought process, but maybe not very intelligent at all. If I can get it to come down and use the flaps to bleed off the speed, I think that it's going to be much better than trying to bring down, a 5-pound, speed rocket and trying to carry that weight. Because it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight. George Watts, I don't think I am going to test it. I think I'm going to bring it down to Florida, and the first time it ever gets flown will be in Florida. Gooniac, thanks, man. We will see you in the show here in a little bit. George Watts, that's funny. So Tokyo says no matter how you build it, that just the stresses on the airframe are going to find the weak point of the airframe. And I have no doubt that you are correct. No doubt in my mind at all that you are correct on that. I'm really kind of surprised that yours broke where it did, because that is a pretty... if anything, the Dynam airplanes, they may not be the best in the way they go together. They may not have the best hardware. They may not have the best electronics. But they've never been particularly weak airframes. They're molded fairly well, of fairly good quality foam. The foam of a Dynam airplane I would put up against any of the other top manufacturers out there. Like FMS, Freewing, even HSD. The Dynam foam, it's good foam. It's good foam, right? So if there was a part of the airplane that I thought would be weak, I would have thought it would have been the horizontal stab or the wings. I never would have guessed, that part of the fuse would have failed. So that's interesting. I know that I've got a lot of stuff going on in mind that's strengthened that entire section up quite a bit, where instead of just the top of the horizontal being bolted in, all of that area is both bolted and they're all epoxied together, which I'm sure has added a substantial amount of strength in the back of the airframe. So it could be that because of where that was coming down, that part of the airframe became substantially weaker because they had to thin it out, right here where the horizontal bolted onto the main part of the fuselage. So I'm wondering if what I've done already by adding that epoxy, where the entire, assembly, from here on back where all those seams are is basically solid now, and all of those seams are filled with epoxy. I wonder if I've already added a sufficient amount of strength to prevent the breakage in the same spot where you had it. I mean, we'll see. Doyle Blevins. I have a lot of receivers. I've got a variety of receivers from FR Sky, Radio Master, Limit RX, Admiral, Spectrum. I've got some of the Detrum ones. The only ones that I have seen fall out of the sky at distance, right? So I'm sure it was a radio failure. Were the Admirals, not the Lemons. The Admirals, I've had problems with just losing signal altogether. Never had a problem with the Lemons. I've got a bunch of Spectrum receivers. I've had 2 fail on me. FR Skies, never had a problem with them. The Radio Masters, I haven't had a problem with them. So, you know, I mean, to ask if I like the lemon receivers, I mean, I like what gets the job done. I don't really have a preference one way or the other. Like, I'm not going to say, like, this is the best or that's the best. What I like to focus on is what's best for you. What's best for your budget? What are you trying to accomplish? You know, the lemons work well, but I don't know that I would trust them in my most expensive airplanes, if that makes sense. You know, these days, if I'm on a budget, I'm probably going with the Radio Master receivers. If I'm putting it in an expensive airplane, I'm going like AR637, AR8360. When the 10-channel version of that receiver comes out, I'd be looking in that direction. You know, like this AR630s, AR631s, you know, I tend to stay away from those. I will pay the extra to have diversity antennas on Spectrum receivers. Not because I don't trust the Spectrum receivers. I haven't had good luck with those antennaless ones. Some people say they're great, and good for them. I'm glad they got good ones. I haven't had good experiences with them. If you're willing to try the lemons, I'd say go for it. I know plenty of people that have had excellent luck with lemon receivers. I know some guys that have taken piles of lemon receivers and set them on fire. So your mileage may vary. You know, Gooniac will tell you that lemon receivers are fantastic. Nate Kugel, if he's in here, will tell you that you know, that lemon receivers are fantastic. What up, Dave RC? And Doyle, I've tried the orange receivers too. In fact, I was shocked at how well the orange receivers, they're good. They're fine. You know, just keep in mind that you're operating on a budget, you know, and I would always operate with that in mind. You know, that's your control link, man. That is the bond between your transmitter and your airplane. Do you want that to be the cheapest part of your airplane? Do you want that to be the place that was cloned by someone else's design? Or do you maybe want to spend a little more and buy something from the people that have perfected it? I mean, ultimately, that decision is up to you. I know where my thought process lands, when I'm asking myself those kinds of arguments. For this particular airplane, where I've invested about $50 into it, I'm kind of all right throwing a $13 receiver in it. If it's a $500 airplane, I'm probably going to spend $100 on a receiver. If it's a $1,000 airplane, if it's a $20,000 airplane, I'm going to spend good money on a quality OEM receiver from the manufacturer that makes the transmitter that I used. I'm not going to go with a lemon, an orange, anything weird like that. Right, so that's exactly correct. I mean, if all else fails, listen, we live in a society where it's okay to not take to not hold yourself accountable for the stupidity that you may or may not have been responsible for, right? It is quite all right to blame the electronics now. And no one's going to know. So go out and wreck your planes, blame the electronics, call Horizon, call Motion, blame the electronics, see if they'll send you a new airplane. Most of you guys know you did something stupid. And you don't have to get all huffy puffy in here with me, man. I know. Every now and then we just fat finger something. We dub it up and we do something stupid. And, in a day where no one wants to take responsibility for anything, blame the blue box. Who cares, man? Screw it. Well, Dave, they got so many freaking different fruit flavors. There may as well be a strawberry receiver. You know what I'm saying? Well, no, it's got to be a citrus fruit. We gotta, dude, lime receivers, baby. Let's do it. Me and you, Dave. Lime. They already got lemon. They already got orange. We need to make a lime. Or we can just go all out and make a passion fruit, and it'll have a picture of me and you's face right next to each other. And it'll be called passion receivers. Passion fruit. That's funny. Banana hammock radios, banana hammock electronics. And our receiver line will be the passion fruit. The banana hammock passion fruit receivers. All right. So Paul McNeil, before we take off out of here, I want to answer your question about the Red Cat Gen 8 lights. All right. So there are jumpers. There's like a J1, J2, J3. There are 3 jumpers there's 3 jumpers and 2 receiver locations where you can bring your signal in from the radio. All right, so that's the first thing you want to make sure is plugged into the right place, is coming from the receiver into the light box and out to the Y connector. Are you plugged into the right box on the little light, on the blue box from the little light, right? We can blame the blue box even in the surface world. The other thing is, as long as your throttle is moving in the right direction, which I assume it is, that there is a jumper to correct that on the blue box. And there's also a jumper to change the behavior of your brake and reverse lights. So you have to look at how all of those jumpers work. There is a little manual that it comes with, and it'll have the 3 jumpers and what the settings do when you have those jumpers in different positions. Dude, Kenny knows I'm going to try to take him out. Kenny knows. All right, so Gooniac, make sure that you check out the link that he just posted. That is a link for his stream that is coming up here shortly. Pomegranate Electronics. Hey man, whatever fruits are out there, if they haven't been used yet, it's wide open in the world of RC. I would power this thing up again and give it another rip, but the half throttle rip scared me a little bit. So we're going to wait until we can get this thing off the table and get all of the different pieces and parts and stuff moved. I want to button everything up and get it all ready to go before we do that again. So maybe next week we will fire this thing up again and give it a full rip. Which may take the entire front of the airplane off. Beatty, Tennessee, cool. We'll see you here in a little bit. Blue Man Group, I mean, they shouldn't have made such crappy boxes, dude. It's their fault. All right. Before we go, I do want to take a moment to thank all of the wonderful supporters of the channel. Let's see. That's not what I want. Okay, so now I'm seeing what I want to see. So we're going to come over here and we're going to give a big thanks to all of our fine channel members. The people that make this possible, the thing that, you know, the folks that make it possible for us to do these awesome, you know, fundraising activities. You know, and next month will be the return of our monthly virtual fly-ins. So for those of you guys that have been missing out on those, they are coming back. We will see another one at the beginning of May. I don't know at this point whether or not we're going to be doing like the weekly, you know, kind of giveaway, but we'll see how that works out. Memberships. All right. So I want to give a big shout out to all of the members of the RC Air Marshal YouTube channel. Huge thank you to everybody that is on here. We've got Joe Pellegrino, Tug Hill RC, RC Addict, Ghost RC, George Pryor, I believe, is the rest of that. I can't see the whole thing. We got C Mafia, thank you, sir. Flying Times, Michael Nowland, it looks like that says. Airvexed RC, Barry Campbell, Dave in Kentucky, Michael Statler, Pilot Jerry RC, Eric Favre, Sage Creek Outdoors, Gary S., George Watts, David Martin Graff, Jet Tech Don Atkins, Ken Sprouse, Pterodactyl, Mike SSI, Gooniac Fiery Booty, and Mr. Dave Kowalski himself. I appreciate it, guys. For as low as $1.99 a month, you guys can also be a contributor to the channel. Dave's RC with the super chat. We appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, sir. So, guys, the memberships are a really inexpensive way to support the channel. It's $1.99 a month. Cue up the Sarah McLaughlin stuff. It's basically 50 cents a show. Just throwing 50 cents out there like, hey, thanks. Thanks for nothing. All right, guys. So make sure you hit the like button on the way out. We do need to cut it off at this point and head over. We're going to take a little bit of break before our brother Guniak starts up his show. We're sitting right at 9:59, so we are right on time. Be sure to tune in next week. We're going to have more stuff to share. Hopefully I'll have some flights on some of these other airplanes that I haven't been able to get out and fly yet, depending on what the weekend weather looks like, because I'm pretty much done with this thing. That means it's time to get flying again. The weather's looking beautiful here in Georgia recently, so I am ready. I am ready to go. Super pumped. What else do we got? Hopefully we'll see a more finished and refined product. Every week from this point on, we're going to be doing, more and more updates on the Mustang to see where she's at, what improvements I've made, etc. As we get this big dog ready to take down to Florida and destroy the competition. Watch out, Kenny. And by destroy, I don't mean go faster than in a race. I mean physically mangle. Be sure, if you guys got an extra, $5 laying around and you want to contribute it to a really worthy cause, hit up my PayPal. We're still collecting money for the Linden Stewart collection. We're going to get Linden Stewart a Draco, and we're going to send it down to South America, in his country where they just do not make anywhere near enough. I mean, the exchange rates are so poor and the economy is so far behind ours that he would never be able to do it on his own. The RC community has come together, something fierce. We've got almost $1,800 now saved up towards getting this airplane down to Lyndon. So be sure to hit up my PayPal. You can hit it up on rcairmarshal.com. It's all the way at the bottom. Hit that PayPal link. Or you can go to paypal.me, so paypal.me/DavidMarshall3, and that will hook it up. So, yeah, if you got a few bucks that you want to contribute to a worthy cause, you can't write it off on charity because I'm not, I'm not like a tax-free charitable place, although I should be. Anyway, for all of you guys that have contributed and helped us raise the money that we have so far, I want to give you guys all a huge, huge thank you. We're so close to being where we need to be. And I think that once we get this thing, the videos, even if he doesn't put out any videos, even if all he does is send pictures of just him smiling with a brand new airplane, a brand new transmitter, batteries, that's gonna put a smile on my face. The giveaways are always cool, but to be able to do something like this for someone that does not live here in the United States, for someone that lives down in South America in such an underprivileged part of the world where we have every luxury at our fingertips here in the United States. And, this is just one of those times where I'm able to give back through the community, collect a ton of money, and send a plane down to an underprivileged part of the world where we've got an RC enthusiast down there that doesn't get new airplanes. They don't have hobby shops. We're going to be that guy's hobby shop. We've collected the money. We're going to send it down to him. He's going to get himself a brand new airplane, brand new batteries, brand new charger, brand new transmitter. He's going to have himself an E-Flight Draco. It might be later in the year, but he's going to get it, and it's going to be awesome. And Lyndon, we love you, man. everything that we're doing to support you. I hope that it goes a long way in helping you enjoy this hobby. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming out this evening. We will see you all again next Monday. Dave, I'm about $400 right now, but I'm taking all of my affiliate money and all of my YouTube money for April, which should pay out here in, I don't know, whatever today is. So in about 9 days is when I'm going to cut off all the donations and everything. That's when my my YouTube payments, my YouTube payments, my CJ affiliate stuff from Spectrum, from Horizon should come in. My affiliate stuff from BitGo. I mean, I'm gonna have all of that stuff coming in around the same time. Hopefully, that will take us over the top. But right now, we're about $400 away from my goal. My goal is $2,100. Once we kind of cut all that off and we meet that goal, we're going to go ahead and get everything ordered and find out how to get it down there. Whatever I need to make up, if it's more, if it costs more, we're just going to raise more money. If it costs less, we're going to buy more stuff. So either way, he's getting the airplane. But, if it costs every dime we collect to send it down to him, he'll just get the combo package. If it doesn't cost that much to send it down to him, we're going to buy more stuff. So either way, all of the money is going to get spent. But right now we're about $400 away from that initial goal, which I think will get us in the ballpark of where we need to be to ship it down there. Anyway, guys, Fred Barron, the reason you always miss the show, Fred, is because you come 5 minutes after we normally cut it off. But thanks for coming, Fred. We're right at the end, and we're about to cut it off. I was just, giving everybody an update on the collection that we're doing to get a Draco for our buddy Linden Stewart down in Guyana, South America. We're very close to our goal. We're about $400 away. So thank you, everybody, for contributing to that. It's been a huge success so far, and we can't stop yet. We're almost there, right? So we'll be back next week. Everybody, come back. We will see you in about 10 minutes over at Guniac Show. Thank you to all the members. Thank you to everybody who's here. If you're here and you're listening and you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button. Join the channel for $1.99 a month. Let's get the memberships up. And maybe I'll do something special for the members. I mean, you never know. Besides, emojis. We see you guys all on Ray's show, guys. You guys all have a great evening. We will see you next week.